I was actually doing contractual work specific to one of our projects called Native Voice, which is a project that was developed to kind of bridge the gaps between school communication and family communication and authentic family communication. So really kind of shifting between the ideas of only providing informational items to families and thinking that that's family engagement versus actually having invitational opportunities where we listen to families, and then from what we hear from them, we move forward on their ideas on what they are wanting and also needing within their own communities. And so before this position, like Morgan stated, I was the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Federal Programs for the Rapid City Area School District. For Rapid City Area schools, although it is not located on one of our 9 reservations in South Dakota, it actually has the largest Native American population within the state enrolled in the district. And so, like she stated, Title VI Indian Ed fell under me. So a lot of those ideas of how do we create authentic family engagement within our Native families? How do we address the disparities that we also were seeing with graduation rates and truancy and things of that nature also fell under me. So it's something that I'm very familiar with. And then before that, I was a professor at one of our tribal colleges on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation for many years there. So it's definitely been a journey, but Indigenous education is something that's been a pillar kind of within my background of teaching, and also then now on the administrative side of things. Thank you. Our Native Voice project, that right now, last year and the year before, we worked with Todd County School District located on the Rosebud Reservation. And so really thinking about that, that specific project within Native Voice, we depended really heavily on our varying communities. And so it was important for our principals, our administrators, and our teachers to really open up to the idea that we really want to shift between that informational, we're just giving a pamphlet, we're just showing a PowerPoint, we're just doing a newsletter or an all call, and really moving forward to, we want families back in our buildings. We want families back coming to us. I know that this isn't going to be something new, working in Indigenous education, but there is a level of trauma that we have to, from a school lens, work harder within Native communities in education settings because of the trauma of boarding schools and things of that nature. So instead of swooping necessarily in and doing an approach that maybe is for all of the district, Todd County is really strong about individual schools doing what they need to do to meet the needs of the families in that building. And so for us, frequently text is an option that we would maybe text our families stating we're doing a family night. But on the flip side, we also had to have multiple other ways. Many of our families, while they may have text some of the month, they may run out of minutes, they may be having multiple phones that they go through. And so to being able to understand that. For us, it's been really meaningful. And I think that this also goes back. So let me back up a little bit. Within our state, the people of South Dakota, the Indigenous population, the Osheti-Shakowee people, so that's made up of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota people. One really important aspect is communication and is the idea of community, and that we are all related and we're moving forward in conjunction with one another, and the idea of thinking about one another's needs. And so that's been really important for us as the Statewide Family Engagement Center to assist Todd County in kind of breaking down those natural barriers within the education system for their students and for their families. So, for example, something that we're going to be doing this fall is, while we've conducted interviews with families virtually because of COVID and things of that nature, that also created its own level of barriers just because of internet, use of technology, things of that nature. And so this fall, we will be able to not only do the virtual conversations with families that each school conducts themselves and has their administrators a part of, but we are also using their community centers. And so we're going in and we will be hosting community focus groups as well. And so that's been really important, is creating that full level of partnership, not only with the tribe and with community representatives, but also the school, and then also families and students, and really, really trying to bring all of those different stakeholders together. And so I was going to touch on this a few minutes ago, a platform that has been important and that we want to implement more because we heard our family stating that they wanted it. The local reservation has both a TV channel and then also a radio station. And so this year, we are going to advertise, we're going to do different marketing and publicity via both of those avenues, in addition to texting, phone calls, parent-teacher conferences, to really try and bring that idea of communal, and to keep that idea of communal spirit within the idea of how do we engage our families and our students. I think first and foremost, there is the importance and the foundational knowledge of the effects and the rippling effects that boarding schools have had on Indigenous education, and we continue to see it. And so having that baseline knowledge and foundation is really pivotal in working with our Native American students and our Native American families to then have the mindset of not what can we fix, but instead being really solution-based, and the idea of we're meeting everybody exactly where they're at. And what does that mean? And really, we believe the only way that we'll understand what that means is by having those open and sometimes really hard conversations with our families. So if we're only reaching certain pockets of families, right? The families that always come to conferences, the families that always want to participate in the family night and things of that nature, we still have students and families on the outskirts that are not being, right, that are not maybe having the same level of engagement. And so really trying to understand, why is that? Is that because of past experiences in the school district? Is that because of lack of transportation and what that looks like? Is it because of lack of technology, ability to understand technology such as Zoom, lack of internet, and really that idea of how poverty also has a step, a really big step in the process of getting students to school. I think it's important for us to remember that at the end of the day, you know, our students and our families, they have basically so much that we may not know that's happening within the home, that's happening, struggling internally, whatever it may be. And so that's with any type of student, though, that we should be able to meet those families where they're at. But at the same time, the idea of there's going to be harder or tougher conversations. And the only way that we can grow is by having those. And so truly listening to the families and what they have to say. And it's not necessarily a personal thing, but for some of our families, they're trying to balance, do I work my night shift job where I can make money so I can provide for my family? Or do I try and take off and rush to a parent teacher conference? Well, I assume my child's doing well because, they're going to school and we're doing the best that we can. But it's a lot harder to navigate and understand that those choices are being made if we're not actually having those conversations. And I think also too, with communities, knowing each other very well and things of that nature, also coming into it as every student is their own person. Just because a family may have had certain interactions in the past, they may be having completely different interactions today, and that's all fine and it's all valid, but it's our job within the school systems to really meet those families exactly where they are. And so for us, I've heard where families just simply didn't know. Maybe they didn't pay attention to a text message because of whatever reason. So they didn't know an event was happening. I have families who, in the past have struggled with being able to balance their other outside needs of their family with school. And then finally, some families, they have a mistrust within the school system. And so because of that mistrust or because of their past experiences and trauma, they are not willing or are maybe scared to go into the school or to have the parent teacher conference. And so definitely working through that has been really important within duties in Todd County and then also in Rapid City. I think it's been really important with Native Voice and how it's grown. We have worked hard and very intentionally with multiple levels within the district. So superintendent, the federal programs director, the family engagement coordinator, they have been pivotal in being able to reach staff with the idea of we're changing our lens on how family engagement works, because what we've been doing in the past has not worked. Just telling families things is not working, and it's not authentic, and it's not creating true relationships, which at the end of the day is very rooted in that Lakota value system. And so that's been pivotal, working with our principals, building by building, including some of their other support staff, such as counselors, assistant principals, deans, has been really pivotal. And then even having some teachers step into roles where they sit in on a family engagement chat, one of our Native Voice chats, so that they can actually hear from our families. Something that has been very important in our process of things is when we have these chats, administrators, both from the district level and the building level, are present, but they're not allowed to speak. So during that hour and a half where we're having these chats, they are fully actively listening to families. They're not trying to problem solve, which I know is frequent within education. We hear something and we want to immediately say, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, it shuts that part off, and it allows our administrators or our teachers, our district leaders to be able to fully hear families. And then from there, we create really detailed reports on what families were saying, what those numbers quantifying, some of those qualifying statements that they've provided into numbers that we can actually use to then drive decisions. So an example would be, we are stepping up into using the radio station and the local reservation television channel because families stated that they wanted that across all of our chats. What's been really important with Todd County School District is the fact that so this work is tied to their Title I funding and their family engagement component, or the FACE planning of Title I. And so with that, their Title I director, or their federal programs director, has really been able to cultivate school improvement councils that we're going to be implementing this year, that's also tied to that FACE planning. And so when we're speaking to families and we're having these chats, we're telling families about, we're going to be having more chats, we're going to be having focus groups, we're going to be having school improvement councils per building that has multiple people, such as family members, teachers, counselors represented, to be able to have goals within family engagement and looking at each individual school through a critical eye. Then from there, each of the schools have a representative from their school improvement council that then will be serving on a district-wide school improvement council. And so that will have a representative from all the different schools, which also reflects our different communities within Rosebud Reservation. And so that's been really pivotal. At the same time, our buildings utilize their parent advisory councils that they may have in other areas to get feedback and do surveys and things of that nature. It's been really important, and we've noted this through our chats. At first, our system in place was our family engagement coordinator. She and the building principals would create lists and would reach out to families to try and get families involved. And that worked well, some better than others. Some schools we had a lot of participation, and other schools we didn't because of X, Y, and Z. And so being able to do some double loop learning with this process has been really imperative. And so moving forward, we have not only utilized our school Indigenous leaders and our school's Indigenous teachers to be able to help us, but we also have called on those families and stated, would you participate in a chat next semester? And if so, would you be interested in asking one of your friends to join? Who do you know that would also be able to come to the table? So that's been important. Also creating a really intentional partnership with the tribe's educational committee has been important. And the support of the school district with the school board as well has been really important. So trying to consistently and intentionally look at whose voices are we bringing to the table, and how can we intentionally add more to those voices, and also have voices that maybe aren't usually at the table. Something that's been important is consistency for us. And so myself and my colleague, Dr. Peg Dekoff, who she's the lead on this project, when we are working on our chats, it's very important that our families know us. It's very important that our families know our phone numbers that we're going to be calling them from. In the past, how we've done it is I would reach out to the families one by one individually, weeks in advance before the chat, after the principal or our family engagement coordinator had originally asked them to participate. Then I would reach out just to try and create a level of trust, answer any questions for them, really talk to them about how excited we are that they're going to be participating. Because for some, it can be really a high anxiety activity. They've never maybe had a chance to be open and honest and have so many people listen to their concerns, and then also the things that are going really well. And so that first level of commitment to them, that I'm going to be on the chat, I'll be right there with you, has been really pivotal. Then moving on, During the week of the chat, I would message them again, both text message and also email, and also through the phone, just to really confirm that they are still able to come, answer any other questions. And then during the chat, we really go through a set of rules or guiding expectations to kind of set up those expectations, such as share the space. If you have the ability to have your camera on, please do, so that we can create those full relationships. And you do feel as if you're in a more trusting situation, if you can actually see the body language of those who are listening to you. And then we've had a style where we have set it up very similar to what an in-person focus group would look like, where we ask a question and then we move through. Anybody that wants to say anything, they can, and so they do. And then we offer the floor to maybe those who have not spoken yet, which has been important. And then from there, if anybody has additional comments, then we'll swing back around. I think something too that's been really important for us, Becky, has been the idea of really trying to be as culturally responsive as possible in these chats. And when I say that, I mean that we are being reflective of the people and of the needs of the people who we're talking to. So for us, another level of building trust has been every chat that we've had, while they're tied to individual buildings, we've also had a community elder from that area begin the chat with typically we call it words of wisdom. So words of wisdom to try and set the tone for the chat, to try and set the tone of why it's important to have family engagement and what that looks like from a Lakota perspective. And then we've been able to move forward. So that's been really pivotal, because that is such a crucial part of the Oshodi Shakoi culture, is having that elder perspective. And so that's been really vital to us to be able to do. Personally, what I've learned is just how important it is to be flexible and to be able to pivot when you need to. Just because it's a great idea in your mind does not necessarily mean it's going to execute that way, and that's okay. But instead of trying to make something fit into every school or to every district, particularly within Indigenous communities, they're not homogeneous people. And so it's crucial to be able to look through a lens that's needed for that building, for that family, and to be able to meet them exactly where they're at. So that's been really, really important for our work. And I would note that we are moving to expanding this project to another school district on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And so with that, Morgan did a really wonderful job of working with their superintendent and their curriculum director in creating not only something similar with our Native Voice project, where we're trying to get that authentic family engagement, but at the same time meeting their needs. And so for them, they would like additional training for their staff to be able to really build that foundational knowledge of why family engagement's important, what type of effects can it have, and how can you do it well within your schools and really intentionally. And so that's been pivotal and very crucial for us to be able to change a little bit of what we're doing on the project to meet those needs of that specific school district. So at the high school level, instead, the past 2 years, their chats, instead of focusing on speaking with families, we've actually hosted the chats to be with former students. And I tell you what, former students have a lot to share, and they have been some of our most beneficial and also some of our toughest chats, because students were the ones to experience directly what was happening within the schools. And so for some of them, they had wonderful experiences, and some, they maybe had some that are less desired for. And so for them to be able to share those, has been crucial. Something that's come up multiple times within our student chats has just been, and also our family chats as well, has been their need and their want for better transitioning between the middle school and the high school, and then also high school and after high school. And so that there's been, in their eyes, a disconnect on what that reality looks like. And so we have been this year really talking and really trying to work with the high school on thinking about ways that they can cultivate more experiences and possibly richer experiences for those transitioning students, and for students who are also leaving high school, and what are those goals that we want those students to have. And so career or college readiness is one of those goals. And so what does that actually look like, and what worked and what maybe didn't work so much from a student lens? This year as well, we are doing focus groups, not only, like I stated, within the communities with community members who could potentially be families, but also we're going to be going into the high school and the middle school in the last week of October. So right after their first set of grading and things come out, and we're going to be doing 4 sets of focus groups in person with students who are currently there. So the first round for the middle school will be all 6th graders. And so we will move through approximately 40 students, trying to ask them varying questions about transitioning to middle school, what's been working for them, what do they still need help on. And then we will also be doing that with our 9th graders, so approximately 40 of them. And so, like Morgan stated, again, similar to our families, we want a wide variety of students. We want students who have varying backgrounds. We know that that's where we are going to get to the root of different issues, and particularly not only the root of them, but that we can start working with Todd County School District on how we can resolve or look forward to moving with those students and helping them and supporting them and their families in the best way possible. We will be maintaining our virtual chats. All schools will be participating in 2 virtual chats, 1 each semester. In addition to our high school having a former student chat in the fall, in the spring, they're also going to conduct their first family chat in the fall with families. So that's going to be something that, while it's similar, it's also different. Then, like I stated, we'll be doing a week-long, 2 times this year, of focus groups. Something that we did last year was we did conduct a focus group through a class at our the local tribal college, Sinte Gleshka, on the Rosebud Reservation. And so we had participants there. It was in person. It was our first in-person focus group, and it really opened our eyes to the fact that community members who maybe don't have a student directly in the school district right now, but maybe they have a grandchild or a niece or a nephew, they still want to be connected and they still want to know what's happening. And so how can we serve that population too of stakeholders has been important. And then also moving forward, really just trying to support our federal programs director and the family engagement coordinator in their positions, and looking at it through not only the district level or school level for family engagement, but also through that federal lens of what we can potentially do to really grow their relationships. And so something that's important that we're doing this year is through the family engagement, and through listening from our families, they want cultural opportunities, and they want opportunities that they can grow with their families to learn about their culture from people within their community. So after we took that knowledge of what they were seeking from last year's chats and the data that we collected, the family engagement coordinator is moving forward with something called loosely, we're calling it the Lakota Lecture Series. And so that Lakota Lecture Series will happen monthly, starting at the end of starting in October. And from there, we will have a person that's speaking about a cultural lesson or an idea. And at the same time, it will be in person, so students and families can join. We are going to be taping it, so it's going to be streamed on the local television channel and then also through varying social media outlets. And then we're also going to use that opportunity of when we have community members and students and families together in that space, that we can provide information that the district may want others to know about, whether that's about upcoming Native voice chats, maybe that's about kindergarten transitions, whatever it may be, depending on the month. We'll also provide then that information as well and invite families to different events that they maybe didn't necessarily know about. So that's going to be something that's new that we're doing this year to also kind of continue to build and grow levels of trust within the community and with our families. And then finally, they're also going to be adding something through their social media this year. Their social media through the school district 2 times per month will be doing basically learning kits that families can do at home with their students. And then we will be providing the learning aspect of it via social media. So for example, students may learn something specific about traditional Lakota plant knowledge. And so we would have a speaker speak about that. And then at the same time, we would provide some of those different plants, maybe medicinal plants, kits to families for them to be able to utilize. So an example would be, I believe that we're looking at doing like a tea kit with traditional medicinal medicine that the Lakota people would use. And so those videos can be used at any point in time by the district or by teachers or by community members. And then we also have that aspect of learning aspect that students are doing it with their families, and families are also cultivating cultural knowledge through that process.